Well, good evening, this is Hound Dog Steve wishing you a very pleasant evening. And here we are, back on the Bitcoin update. And as you can see, Bitcoin has been on an incredibly wild ride. It has gone from around about $10,000 in October or so of last year. In 3 months, October, November, December, January, okay, we've crested over $42,000, and then the other day it dropped down to $32,000, a $10,000 drop in basically 36 hours, and now it's riding around about $37,500. Now I think that this is the big banks pulling money out of Bitcoin, profit taking, and also to shake some other investors in Bitcoin. You know, I actually got a funny feeling, this is just a gut feeling, about Bitcoin, and what the central bank is trying to do is exactly what it did to Tally Stick, which was it bought up all the existing Tally Sticks, bought them out, and then destroyed them. Max Keiser did say that there'd come a time when the big institutional investors in Bitcoin would buy directly from the miners, and there would be no more Bitcoin would actually hit the marketplace. And so I think this may be what they're trying to do. So my position right now is basically just hold. Yes, I've done the washing in and washing out, but I really felt that after the American election was concluded, that the game playing would end, certainly as far as you and I are concerned, and because they may reach a point, if I'm correct, and that's what the central banks and big institutional investors are doing, they will reach a point where you wash out of Bitcoin and all of a sudden you can't buy back in again, because they've just snapped it up. And of course you have to remember that these institutions are so financially wealthy. They can buy any kind of computer, any kind of service feed, it doesn't matter what it is, that there is no obstacle to them buying lots of Bitcoin very, very quickly. So yes, you might suddenly find yourself being locked out, and that is how they will try and eradicate Bitcoin. Of course it won't work, because you know their own fiat system is collapsing around their ears, and so they will be forced into using Bitcoin and pushing it back into circulation again. So don't worry, but in the short term, like I say, just bear that in mind, that this could be a way of shaking out any loose Bitcoin and getting it into the big institutions' pockets, because as far as they're concerned, the less that's in actual day-to-day circulation, the more secure they feel their system is. Now, this is a retrenching moment, and well, as Max Keiser would say, this is time to buy in, because you're still at the beginning of this bull run of Bitcoin. Now, I've got to do a disclaimer. This is not financial advice. This is just my own personal opinion and anecdotal observations and news stories that I find suggesting bigger things to come for cryptocurrencies. And my first story is from the Ukraine. Okay, the Ukraine has now got the team that put together Stellar XLM to work on a cryptocurrency for that country to use for trade and debt settlement. Now it says in the article that it's unclear whether they're going to use the Stellar blockchain, but you know what? I'm willing to bet that after they've done all that work on the Stellar blockchain, which is a debt and debt settlement payment coin, blockchain, that's exactly what it's designed to do. So why wouldn't they use that particular blockchain? And when that happens, Stellar is just going to absolutely go to the moon. This is incredibly important on so many levels. Firstly, because it is at the nationwide level, and it's a recognized country. Ukraine is a major exporter of natural gas, other minerals and commodities, including grain, because it's a great agricultural region. Now, say for example that Ukraine demands payment in gold, silver, oil or stellar. I will guarantee you that anybody who wants that natural gas or those grains or those commodities or minerals will be doing everything they can to get hold of gold, silver, oil, or stellar. And I think it's more likely it's going to be stellar because it acts more like a currency. And so I think this is very good news as far as adoption is concerned. This is probably one of the first to go into action of the, what do you call them, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. And now I don't know how it will be manipulated, whether it will be one of these controlling kind of things, you know, where it's a cryptocurrency on a blockchain but it still acts like a bank, you know, and so they're leveraging you and service charging you and this kind of stuff. Not quite sure how that is going to roll out, but for the whole concept of adoption, and this is the key here, is people getting used to the idea of using cryptocurrencies as a means of exchange, barter, and debt settlement, as opposed to, or as well as, you know, fiat currencies. And this is from Decrypt. Ukraine taps Stellar Foundation to develop national digital currency. The organization behind XLM will work to create a CBDC as a central bank digital currency for Ukraine, as well as help develop its digital asset and stablecoin infrastructure. So, in brief, Stellar will help develop Ukraine's central bank digital currency, CBDC. The organization behind XLM will also work on crypto and stablecoin infrastructure. It is unclear whether Ukraine's CBDC will be based on the Stellar blockchain. Well, I'll give you a clue. I think it is. That's what they've been working on for the last, I don't know how many years. So it's up and running. So I'm pretty certain. They don't want to give it away, but I'm pretty certain that if it were me, I'd be using the Stellar blockchain because that's what it's designed to do. So there you go. But when they find that their fiat currencies are evaporating before their eyes through inflation, and you know, you're going to find one day, and this is something that, you know, Canadians really haven't experienced in their lifetime ever, I don't think, is having a currency in your hand that another country won't recognize or accept. Although you might have got that down if you went down to Florida back in the 70s or 80s and went to a smaller bank and brought out Canadian currency. The bank would have just looked at you like it was monopoly money and refused to even touch it. You'd have to go to a larger bank that was more national, shall we say. You could reach a point where traders will just not accept fiat currencies because they're just too unstable, and they will demand cryptocurrencies. Now you have to remember that cryptocurrencies will stabilize. When that will occur, I'm not exactly certain, but right now we are in the speculative and growth stage, and so a lot of cryptocurrencies are going to look like they're in a bubble, and they are in a bubble. They are in a bubble, but at some point they will start to stabilize out, and you know, just as you see currencies go up and down with relationship to each other on the open market in the fiat world, so the same thing will happen with these different cryptocurrencies. And yes, they will move up and down, but it won't be so volatile. Right now, you know, there are people pouring money in, there's people profit taking, reinvesting, buying on the dips, so on and so forth. So it's pretty chaotic right now, and it's giving a very misleading impression of what this will look like down the road, because, you know, really what's happening, I heard someone say, is that Bitcoin is holding up a mirror to the fiat world. Okay, the debt world that we find ourselves in. Bitcoin is now essentially doing what gold and silver used to do, which was an indicator of inflation. And the volatility that you're seeing in Bitcoin is merely a reflection of the money printing disaster that's taking place in America right now as they debase their currency. And because they cannot manipulate Bitcoin like they can manipulate the paper gold and the paper silver market, there you go. If the paper gold market was not in place right now, gold would be looking a lot like Bitcoin is at the present moment. Now, the other big news is that Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary of the US, has declared that banks can use digital stablecoins. And this from Crypt Radars. The US Control Office approves national banks to use stablecoins. Stablecoins can be used by the US National Bank and Federal Savings Association authorities for payment activities. The US's regulatory clamour for cryptocurrencies is tightening, but as far as national banks are concerned, if they want to use stablecoins, they are becoming green. Okay, now stablecoins are basically tied to the US dollar, and so they are stable. They do fluctuate a little bit, but not a whole heck of a lot. And this is a way in which you can, say for example, if you got Bitcoin, it went up to $40,000, and you want to sell off some Bitcoin, but you don't want to put that back into fiat per se. You can sell that at 40,000. Put that money into a stable coin like a US Tether, something like that, and then when the price drops down and you want to buy back in again, you can dump that money out of your stable coin and buy back into the cryptocurrency of your choice. I've done it several times myself. It is a great way to wash in and out and increase your cryptocurrency stash. Yes, it's been. I've taken advantage of that volatility, and I mean, I'm not a brilliant trader, but you can see patterns, and I sold probably maybe a little below the tops, and I bought back in a little bit higher than the lowest lows that it went down to. But overall, I sold higher and bought back in lower, and done that several times, and as I say, built up my stash of cryptocurrencies. And things like this tell you that we're moving closer and closer and closer to recognizing and adopting as regular currencies these cryptocurrencies that have come onto the scene. And what's that all saying? First they ridicule you, and then they violently oppose you, and then it's just adopted as normal behavior. And this from RT. He's convinced world's richest man, Elon Musk, wants to be paid in Bitcoin. Bitcoin? Elon, that's unbelievable. If you ever want to buy something from Elon Musk, you now have another payment option, as the world's richest man has signalled that he would like to be paid in Bitcoin in another boost to the soaring cryptocurrency. Responding to a tweet by Ben Mesrick, the author behind the movie The Social Network, the founder of Tesla and SpaceX, says he's now on board with accepting payment in Bitcoin. I'm telling you one thing, I'm never turning down getting paid in Bitcoin again, Mesrick wrote, prompting Musk to reply, me neither. So there you go, folks. And we've gone through that. They ridiculed Bitcoin. Oh yeah, it was a joke. Oh, it was a game. It was one of those stupid. Oh yeah. Okay. Then the government and the banks violently opposed Bitcoin. They came out. They tried to regulate it. They tried to hack into it. They tried to discredit it by saying it was used by criminals and so on and so forth. And of course we know that fiat currencies are used for exactly the same thing. So, what's the big deal? And they couldn't do anything. They've tried everything they could to dash Bitcoin down. And now it's becoming accepted as normal behavior to use cryptocurrencies online for payment and debt settlement. And of course you have the added security that there is no third party can intercede in your transaction, and it is uncorruptible and it's unconfiscatable. And this is why I am bullish on certainly the three main cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum and Litecoin. The rest, you have to do your research. There's no doubt about it. And remember, some of these coins that you're seeing on the exchanges, you can buy the coin, but the platform is not up and running. They're ideas, and you're speculating on whether the idea has merit and can gain traction. So I would recommend that you study up, because North America are incredibly late adopters of the cryptocurrency scene. I got into this. I was watching Max Kaiser talking about Bitcoin when it was $2 and $3 a coin. You can imagine how I'm kicking myself now, because I read the white paper and I knew then that this was a great idea, but I didn't think that it could gain traction. And here we are, 11, 12 years later, and Bitcoin is still shining. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Hound Dog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant evening and happy Bitcoin hunting. You take care now. See ya. Bye.